We are live. We are live. Welcome to college football's peak around the corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do us well, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends. And do not forget to ring the notification bell. We can come on live at any time, especially during the college football season. If you want to support this true independent national college football's rebel outpost with a donation to help us keep the lights on and grow the channel, just hit that $sign where you make a comment, and I will get you super chat as quick as I possibly can. Welcome everybody into the studio that sits on the corner, the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to become a legend with your comments and with your phone calls. Welcome on in, everybody. It is Saturday, August 22nd. We are 7 days away from toe hitting the leather, kicking the football off. UNC TCU, we're going to be doing a watch party on that game and many other watch parties. We are going to do more watch parties this year than ever before. And last year, I don't know how many we did. I mean, it was absolutely ridiculous. It was a lot of work, but a lot of fun. And most importantly, it was a lot of drama. Today, we are going to be talking about we're going to talk about a little Alabama football. But then we're going to talk about one thing and one thing only. The Holy Smokes Theater update in the month of August. The last update we had was July 24th. I was going to do it early this week. But again, we were talking football. Last night we did the Sensational 7. What is your 8th team? What is that team that is not in the top 7 that you think can win the national championship? We had a whole live show on that last night. I really never answered the question. I got an 8th and a 9th team. So I took the easy way out. I took Ole Miss and LSU. I think they're the 8th and 19th. 8th and 9th team that could win it all. With the Red Raiders and BYU and others just on the outside, but who knows? Hardly anybody had the Indiana Hoosiers winning the national championship last year, or anybody outside of Bloomington, Indiana. So there could be a team like Indiana this year. It's going to be a lot of fun. Anyways, we take a look here. First of all, we got Bruce Harris starting us off. $2 holla. $113 today. 113. Help us, Greg the Cold. I can't do that, Bruce. It's too late. I'm going to guess this Tuesday or Wednesday, we are going to be making our picks against the spread. You, the PATC Einsteins, you who went 92 and 94 last year, and Greg the Gold. And I went 92 and 94 last year. But this year's going to be completely different. This year, I'm going, I don't know, what, 120 and 80? I mean, that's where I'm going. It is Greg the... There is no more Greg the Cold in 7 days from now. In fact, I would argue there is no more Greg the Cold in about 4 days from now, or 3 days. Depending, when I make those selections in week 0, and there are locks all over the place. There's a lock in that Stanford-Hawaii game, lock. TCU North Carolina game, lock. Jacksonville State and North Dakota State, lock. There's locks. Now, you guys might be a little confused, but not Greg the Gold. Not Greg the Gold. So buckle up. I'm not going to be able to help you. I'm not going to be able to help you with that 113, Bruce Harris, but I do appreciate you helping out the channel. $2 holler. Thank you very much for your generosity. Thank you for starting us off today. Very much appreciate it. So we're going to do a roll call. And then I do want to talk a little bit about Alabama football. And then we're going to go on the Holy Smokes Theater. First, though, there's a couple of the cameras caught inside the Holy Smokes Theater. A representative from the Big Ten, a representative from the SEC, looking to order some ice cream at the concession stands of the Holy Smokes Theater. Now, that is not inside the Holy Smokes Theater. What is inside might look a little bit different than the concession stands. So I got to give you a warning on that. The other thing is, the Holy Smokes Theater, for everybody that I have, we have made a decision inside the Holy Smokes Theater, based upon the many, many, many discussions that we have had with many people, I am not going to simply present to you all in the Holy Smokes Theater the target list. I think we are now beyond that. Nothing imminent, nothing signed, sealed, and delivered, nothing operational. But I think you might disagree with the Holy Smokes Theater in how we represent the target list, the Big Ten tier and the SEC tier, the canon. And that's fine. Let me have it once again during this live show. But I'm going to go ahead and go beyond that now, because I believe we got a real good sense that peek around the corner. Notre Dame is the Big Ten's number one target. I don't really have to show that anymore. You might disagree with that, but I have said that so many times, and it's not going to change from what we've been told. North Carolina, the next top target. Miami's the next top target. Now, we've been saying Miami for a long time here. That's not going to... See, I don't believe these targets are going to change. We are going to do something different. We are going to present to you the Big Ten chalks, the SEC chalks. What I'm trying to say is, this is kind of, sort of, kind of a PATC prediction show like April 9th we do every year, but this is a little bit of a souped up one. I really, really want to show you the chatter behind the curtain, B. Tim and his associates, and a couple of administrators that we've been able to talk with over the last 3 years. And this is the consensus. If you look up at the title of the program, Holy Smokes Theater Update, Consensus is Building. This seems to be where we are heading. I am not going to be able to report to you today that this is what it's going to be. But I am going to report to you today, I believe this is the chalk, how it's going to eventually look. And again, I'm open. You can never lose your curiosity. I'm open to the change. I'm open to BTM telling me something different. I'm open to an administrator telling me something different. I'm open to the chatter behind the curtain, because nothing is truly done. I don't think anything is operational. For example, in March 31st, 2022, USC and that Big Ten, that thing became operational. It happened before March 31st. I don't know what day it was. But things were on that track, and it was going down to that conclusion. The Colorado thing, that whole thing became operational on May 7th, 2023, I believe, in the city of Chicago. Like, there's comes a time where there's a turning point where things become operational. Now you've got to be able to just nail down what you need to nail down. I don't believe we're there yet. But I believe I've got a good sense at peek around the corner what it's going to look like when it becomes operational. A few and we talked about this last week and the week before. A few doors, fortunately, here at Peek Around the Corner have been open to us here lately. Information that we did not have in the previous 36 months. It could turn out that there's another door that opens to us that completely throws us. But I believe the chatter behind the curtain. Now, look, when I say the chatter behind the curtain, though that is the people in the industry that report on college football. They're not all in agreement. It's not like they're completely 100% this is what's going to happen. But there is a building, there are shocks. There are scenarios that are way more believable than other scenarios. And I think we're down to that point. Because it is going to take a lot for nothing to happen in early 2027. There are too many ways for this thing to get triggered. There's too many different ways for this thing to actually start happening. Okay, so I'm going to say this. Then we're going to get to Christopher Hooter's super chat and other super chats. We'll get to your phone calls later after the monologue. But before we get to the roll call, before we get to the a little bit of Alabama football that I want to talk about, because we always have to talk football in our live shows. I do want to say this. The biggest reason why so many people believe that the next wave of realignment is going to happen sooner rather than later, the reason why so many people believe that the Big Ten is going to expand again, the reason why so many people believe that the Southeastern Conference is going to expand again, even though Greg Sankey says we're fine at 16, we'd rather have everything stay the way they are. The reason people believe this is going to happen, and this is going to sound a little cold, a little blunt, and I apologize if you take this if you take this in a bad way, but the reason why everybody believes this is going to happen is because the last expansion has been a complete success. The Southeastern Conference last conference expansion has been a complete success. A monetary value added, and they haven't even reaped all of that yet, and they're going to. In this, the SEC, it has been a complete success. The Big Ten's latest expansion, beyond their projections. So it is just, I don't know how, if their last expansions would have not have been so successful, then maybe they would not be looking at the next one. But it has been incredibly successful. The Big Ten has been able to monetize the West Coast. Texas and Oklahoma going to the SEC has been huge. And again, not all of that has shown up yet in the SEC's coffers, but it will. So there is all of this motivation, all of these people talking to the SEC and the Big Ten. They've war gamed all of this stuff out. And because the economics forces of consolidation, fortunately and unfortunately, worked so well last time, they're going to do it again. Now, whatever the Big Ten decides to do, it might not work. The Big Ten may fall on their face. The Big Ten may fracture. They've already had problems with the 18 school conference. There's large disagreement within the Big Ten. There's large disagreement within the SEC. It might not work. They might have did too much, too fast. We're not going to know until years down the road. But right now, the perception within the Big Ten, the perception within the SEC is, thank God we expanded in the way that we did it. The SEC sitting there and going, well, when Oklahoma and Texas called, thank goodness we took action. And then the Big Ten is sitting there going, my goodness, thank goodness we took the actions that we did when after Texas and Oklahoma went to the Southeastern Conference. They don't trust each other. The ACC and the Big 12 don't trust each other. Nobody trusts anybody. It's a prisoner dilemma. And we're going to see it play out again. So I just wanted to put that out there. We got Christopher Hooter, $5 holla. Even with big brands available, with more heads to feed per edition, what is the max size of the P2 before the law of diminishing return kicks in? Thank you for that question, Christopher Hooter. Thank you for that $5 holler. I do not know what that number is. But I remember when the SEC was sitting at 14 schools. And I got into these because I was doing what I'm doing on this channel. I used to do this on X, on Twitter, and on 247 for many years before you guys saw my ugly mug and listened to my horrible voice. And I kept arguing over and over again because we heard the money purchase. We talked about it on X over and over and over again. I was a firm believer that Oklahoma and Texas were not going to extend the Big 12 grant of rights. I was saying that the Oklahoma and Texas were going to keep their exit ramps empty. And I was told over and over and over again by a handful of really great Big 12 people, but they were telling me, Greg. In fact, quite a few of them associated with Big 12 websites and radio shows, and they kept telling me, Greg. The SEC, they're not going to go beyond 14 schools. It would not be beneficial to them. No matter if they did add Texas and Oklahoma, their slices would get smaller. I don't think we know the number. Maybe it's 18. Maybe it's 20. Or maybe it's not even close to those numbers. Maybe it's 24. Maybe it's 28. Because there is the laws of diminishing return I get that argument, and it's a good argument, but it's also a little bit of a static. It's a little bit of a what do you call that? Zero sum type of thinking. You know, if you take $2 from somebody and you give $2 to another person, zero sum. But there is this thing of creating more wealth for everybody the bigger you get as well. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to dilute the other schools in your conference. I just saw, now this is different. I get it because it's owned franchises. But I just saw the NHL is looking to add a 33 and a 34th team. It's different than this, completely apples and oranges. I get it. But again, and I know if Josh Pate would ever listen to this program, he would get very angry with me. But the SEC is looking at different markets. So is the Big Ten, so is the Big 12. And adding schools may be able to help you open up some international markets to get more content. You know, we look at, it is so much. Thank you for the $5 holler, Christopher Hooter. I do not know the number, but I'm not sure anybody else does either. We look at college sports. All right? We look at college sports. Live content is king. Live content is king. Not these pre-game shows. Not what are they? Not the Fox Big Noon, whatever they call these. I don't watch those shows because I'm sitting in the studio preparing for watch parties throughout the day. So I'm not a consumer of those shows. ESPN College Game Day. None of those are the moneymakers. It's the live content. It's when the game is being played. The Longhorn Network, yeah, not enough live content. The SEC Network, all that live content. Same thing with the Big Ten Network. During their shows, they can't sell ads but during the live content, even if they only have 400,000 viewers on a certain football game in the Big Ten Network, so you add more and more content. Who knows? The SEC Network might be 2 different channels, or the SEC Network might be on Netflix someday. Netflix. And who knows? At that time, the SEC might have 24 schools, and you got all of these options. You can watch Clemson SEC baseball, Florida State SEC softball. You click on these buttons, and more revenue might come in that way. It's a dynamic economy, like somebody said in the chat. Like somebody said in the chat, hold on. Who said it? Static economy versus a dynamic economy. Bimbus 75, 79. That is a long answer for me to say, I don't know. I don't know what that number is. Diluting LSU, diluting their slice, diluting their brand, look, that's a big part of the conversation. The Ohio State Buckeye athletic director has been saying that during the offseason. Whatever the Buckeyes do, whatever the Big Ten does, we got to make sure we do not dilute the Ohio State brand. You're not going to bring anybody in here. just to hit a certain number to make it easier for the Big Ten scheduling for the media partners. We're not going to go from 18 to 20 just to go from 18 to 20. We got to make sure it does not dilute the Buckeyes brand and value. And the SEC is doing the same thing. You know, the Big Ten Hockey Conference has got 7 teams. They are dying to add an 8th team. They are pounding the fist on the table. But right now, there's no 8th team to add that they would be considered a value add for the Big Ten, for the brand, not to dilute the hockey conference. So you're not going to just add just to reach a number. But you're also not going to not add just because you're scared of that future number. Those 14 SEC institutions are better off with the additions of Texas and Oklahoma. Can they be better off even more with an addition of 2 to 4 schools in this next wave? They're being told, right or wrong, the SEC is being told yes. And the Big Ten, they're being yelled at. People are screaming in their ear, you've got to do it. You've got to. People were screaming in their ear that you've got to take the UC investment deal. It's a no-brainer, and they did not do it. You don't want to be too cautious, right? You don't want to be too Birmingham has their periscope out, and they're looking at Rosemont, Illinois. The Big Ten has got their periscope out, and they're looking at Birmingham, Alabama. They're keeping an eye on each other. They do not want to lose a market space to either one of them. All right, we got a whole very kind super chats coming in. Let's get to them. We got a lot to cover today in the Holy Smokes Theater. We've got Jacoby Cat, my goodness, the Iowa Hawkeye. He is all fired up. Flock cameras in the theater. Greg is big brother. Jacoby Cat, there is high security inside the Holy Smokes Theater. And the reason why we have high security cameras is because of Iowa Hawkeyes like you, Jacoby Cat. Sometimes we have these, we do these practice runs where we secure the building. And these extra walls come shutting down, and bam! Because of Iowa Hawkeyes like you, Jacoby Cat. But thank you for the $2 holler. Very much appreciated, sir. We know your Hawkeyes want to take pictures and video what's going inside the theater. Holy smokes. We've got another $2 holler from Jacoby Cat. Surest Big Ten shock is that the Gophers lose. Well, then you'd be losing more money than you win, Jacoby Cat, because the Gophers have been winning more Big Ten football games than losing. And it's going to happen again this year. So buckle up, Jacoby Cat. Appreciate it. Doc Gibbs, $10 holla. Big factor. Does the Board of Governors uses its state of North Carolina leverage to test the SEC on North Carolina State plus UNC? If so, the SEC makes a deal or walks from the state of North Carolina. Board of Governors briefed in comments. I don't know what that last part means, but could the Board of Governors in the state of North Carolina try to leverage the SEC into taking both of them? I think they might try to do that. They might have already tried to do that. I would, unofficially. I think as of right now, again, none of this is easy. None of this for North Carolina is going to be easy. The SEC, the Southeastern Conference, 17th, 18th, 19th, and 20th schools. Those spots are considered more valuable now than ever before. More valuable than anyone could have imagined before they field 15 and 16. So I believe the SEC's got a whole lot of leverage in this. And I'm going to get to this when we do open up the Holy Smokes Theater for all of you to see. The first school I'm going to talk about, and a lot of you are going to go, oh my God, he's doing it again. He's doing it again. The first school I'm going to talk about is Notre Dame. And then we'll get to the other schools. But the value of the SEC slots and the value of the Big Ten 19 and 20 slots, because they have risen up in value. I'll give you an example. And we're going to talk about it when we open up the theater. Especially when we talk about Notre Dame. At the beginning. When you've got these ACC schools, and Ross Dellinger reported 4 of them. We believe at Peek Around the Corner there was at least 5 of them. When they've got their reps, when they've got their state legislators, when they're rattling the cages on trying to put amendments to try to defeat or reform or cut down that 19 and 5, Section 205 of the PCSA, when you got all that action going on, when you've got ACC schools within the conference having a discussion within the conference, and they're raising their hand and they're saying, we don't like that anti-expansion bill. And it gets leaked to the reporters. All of that is a demonstration of the leverage that the SEC has and the Big Ten has. All that is evidence to say, because these schools know. And I'm going to get it, I will get into it more when we open up the theater. I'm going to answer this more. So it's not going to be easy for North Carolina. I don't know how anybody could say that it's going to be easy for North Carolina. And I don't think anybody 100% knows how this is going to go. And it's why we have North Carolina State in the Holy Smokes Theater, and we've had them in there. And Virginia Tech as well. But the chalk says that the SEC most likely is going to be successful in obtaining North Carolina without having to take North Carolina State. That's one part of the chalk that we are going to show you when we open up the theater. I thank you, Doc Gibb. Thank you for the $10 holla. I appreciate your generosity so very much. Thank you. Thank you, sir. We've got D5 Terps, $5 holler, the Maryland Terrapin. Thanks for all the hard work and entertaining show, Flugs. Brings much joy. Keep it up. Thank you very much, D5 Terps. I appreciate those kind words. I appreciate your generosity. I'm very humbled. We've had a very busy off season. We have covered everything in college football. We've done 80 spotlights. We did all our prediction shows. We've done everything. We're all done. We're a week away, and we have talked so much college football that's happening, what we believe is happening on the field, and so much college football that is happening in the courts and everywhere else in the Holy Smokes Theater. We would not be able to do this every single day without all of your support. Again, I got somebody came to me with a possible sponsorship deal. And again, I'm not going to completely shut down all possibilities. Someday there might be a sponsorship deal that hits me and it fits the values of this channel, and I may do it. But again, it was another sponsorship deal that I most likely 95%, maybe 99% of college football YouTube channels would take in a heartbeat, and I turned them down. I want to be as independent as possible. And the only way I can do that, and only way I can do that every single day, is with all of your support. And that is what you've all given me. So it's a miracle that we can do what we do here at Peek Around the Corner, spend all this time doing it, having all this fun time doing it. But it's because of you all. And I very much appreciate it. And I probably don't thank all of you enough, but I thank you so very much. Thank you for the kind words, D5 Terps. Appreciate it. $5 holler. We've got the Seminole Daniel Gorby. Daniel Gorby. The mint-flavored ice cream for Notre Dame in the theater has melted. It's not available. Let's take a look at what Daniel Gorby's saying. Now, this is not inside the Holy Smokes. I mean, it's inside the Holy Smokes Theater, but it's the concession stand. You've seen this before. Some information is out there in the concession stands, but we're not in the theater itself. We're not in the theater itself. So we're gonna walk in there here in a little bit. We're all gonna take a walk together. But if you look at what Daniel Gorby is saying, look at the flavor ice cream that's up on the wall. SEC Big Scoop, North Carolina Blue Moon, Virginia Orange Swirls, Florida State Caramel, and the Clemson Creamsicle. And you know what? On the question of Florida State and Clemson, because, you know, we always have them listed together. We have them listed together again today, but it's probably the last time we're going to have them listed together. One is above another in one conference. One is above another in the other conference. And we're going to give that information today. So, Florida State and Clemson being on the same tier line, this is probably going to be the last day we do that. The last time we do that. Consensus is building. And then you look at the Big Ten big scoop. You got Miami Tropical, Notre Dame Mint, what Daniel Gorby is saying. I could have went with Notre Dame Pistachio, but I went with Mint. Georgia Tech Gold Leaf, Gold Tech color is one of their official colors, and Duke Blueberry. So anyway, but that is not the information that I want to give you. We're gonna open up the theater here in a little bit. Thank you, Daniel Gorby. Thank you for the $5 holler. Very much appreciate it. We've got Jay Goo, $5 holler, Jay Goo. I appreciate you coming on in, Jay Goo. Great. Just tell the truth that Florida State is never going to be a Big Ten ever. Presidents will never let them in. Go Rutgers. Never is a very long time. So I'm not going to say never. I will say this. I think Florida State is in a better, most definitely, in a better position today than they were in 2023, 2024, 2025. And I have told the truth on Florida State. They were not Big Ten number 19. There was no deal in place for Florida State or Clemson. Not at the time that Florida State sued, and not after the time that they settled. You know, there was quite a few people that declared that Florida State had a spot when they sued the ACC. We said differently because we knew differently. We got dragged over the coals. And the people who said that Florida State and Clemson had a spot, they were celebrated. Those were the same people that said that once they win the case, then you're going to see quick action. You're going to see it happening real quick. And anybody that tells you it's not going to happen real quick, they don't know what they're talking about. They must be Greg the Grifter. Well, the court case ended. They won a big victory, Clemson and Florida State, and nothing quickly has happened. The reality is they did not have a spot. They sued the ACC so they could figure out if they had a spot and what they could do to get a spot. Florida State found out, and look at what they've been doing the last couple of years. Clemson found out. And these other schools have found out because of the hard work and the risk that Florida State and Clemson took to go to the courts. And now all these other schools have found out. And now today, I think we're at a different stage. I think we're at the point where after the elevated talks, there is a consensus that has formed, and we're going to give you that information today. Thank you, Jay Goo 2006. Very much appreciate your support. Christopher Hooter, $5 holla. If the P2 can easily take 2, 4, or 6 more brands, then that is proof that they're already heavily subsidizing the rest of college football, so Congress, get over it. Now, I'm not saying an expansion is easily. I don't think they're going to easily take 2, 4, or 6. But you did hit yes. You hit upon something, Christopher Hoover. You are correct. the top heavy, the top of the SEC and the top of the Big Ten subsidizes everybody else and some ACC schools. But they've also, those top brands in the SEC and the Big Ten, they've also gained by expanding their conferences. So everybody's getting a little bit of what they need. But you are correct. You are correct. One of the reasons why the P2 conferences can still expand and not dilute the conference. But it ain't going to be easy, and it might not work. It might not work. Maybe we're at that part of diminishing returns. But I don't think the Big Ten believes that. I don't think the SEC believes that. And I don't think a handful of ACC schools believe that the SEC and the Big Ten believe that we're at that point. Thank you, Christopher Hooter. Thank you for the $5 holler. Very much appreciate it. All right. For the 234 that are in the house, I appreciate y'all coming on in. If you can please smash that like button. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right. All right. So before we get in, I'm not going to do a roll call, but I want, because I'm already way late on the roll call. But I appreciate it because I'm going to leave a lot of names out of the roll call. I appreciate each and every one of you. Each and every one of you. Each and every one of you for coming on in. All right. Let's get to it. Again, you know how this works. This is the only part of the monologue. This is the only part of the show that I'm going to talk about. The Holy Smokes Theater. After I touch upon this news, Keelan Russell. Alabama has named Keelan Russell as a starting quarterback. So Alabama named the starter, the one that we thought was going to be named over Austin Mack. It's interesting because Alabama last year, we all know they couldn't run the football. It was brutal. Ty Simpson was very good. Was very good at a lot of the technical aspects of the quarterback position. He was good pre-snap. He was very good post-snap. He knew how to read the defenses. He got rid of the ball quickly. The whole time he did not have a running game with him. Had a really good year, got Alabama in the playoffs and beat Oklahoma in Norman, Oklahoma. And now it goes to Keelan Russell, who has had about 50 snaps, 40 snaps, something like that, in his college football career. What is going to happen with the Alabama running game here with Keelan Russell? Because it has to be better. They got a new offensive line coach. But other than that, Alabama, nobody can explain to me what is different about Alabama's offensive line or their backfield that would tell me that Alabama is ready to improve that brutal running game. And with the freshman, redshirt freshman, yeah, it's his second year, right? Yeah, he's got 3 years after this year. Keelan Russell. I'm going to go ahead and continue to bet against Alabama in making the playoffs. Let me know in the chat what you think about Keelan Russell being named the starting quarterback. I don't think it's a shocker. I don't know what he can. Is Keelan Russell are they going to have design runs for Keelan Russell? They got to figure out a way to open up that running game. And is Keelan Russell the man to do it? Well, we shall see. Anyways, that's our little bit of Alabama talk. You know how this works. After the monologue, the phone lines open up. If you give us a call at 763-260-1333, if you give us a call, the floor is yours. You can talk about anything in college football that your heart desires. If you give us a super chat, in your super chat, the floor is yours. We talk about anything that your heart desires. All the other comments will pick and choose depending on how relative it is to what we're talking about. And today we're talking about the Holy Smokes Theater. And we'll also pick the comments in the chats that are really interesting. Or if you show really good creative writing, we'll also post it and talk about it. All right. I thank you all very much. We are going to get in the Holy Smokes Theater. Right now, we've got a $10 holler Ricky Tungate. Greg, if Notre Dame joins the Big Ten with, say, California, Stanford, would they still need into the Southeastern Conference? The key word is need. Does the Big Ten need to get in the southeastern part of the country right now? No. But do they really want to get in the southeastern part of the country right now? Most definitely yes. Because they believe they're leaving money on the table. In other words, I get it. Some people look at the Big Ten as the evil empire. The SEC as ESPN's evil empire. Within the Big Ten, their perspective is it would be malpractice for us not to expand within the Southeastern Conference. And let's not get it twisted. Most Southeastern Conference schools, most of them, almost all of them, if they had a choice, everything being even, they would join the Southeastern Conference in a heartbeat over the Big Ten. I know that gets a lot of Big Ten people upset, but I'm telling you the truth, but you can still come after me. Come after me in the chat, come after you in the phone call. Everything being even, it's a lot easier. It's a bigger cultural fit. All that stuff is really important. Not having your own fan base have to go all over the country to go to road games. You want the Southeastern and other universities, those fans to come to your school, your baseball games, your football games. They're going to raise the value of your own ticket prices and merchandise. It's so, everything being even. And even if it's not even if the Big Ten can offer a little bit of this, a little bit more of that, most of the Southeastern schools, Southeastern part of the country, would take the SEC over the Big Ten. And I'm not ripping on the Big Ten. I'm just being blunt. We're at the time, but the Big Ten really wants to get there. Their plan has been to get there. Jim Delaney's plan was to already been there. They wanted North Carolina and Virginia. Kevin Warren's candidate list has Florida State, has Miami, has Clemson. They had them all listed during Kevin Warren. And now, the way things are, in this new era of college sports, where the Big Ten is utilizing their big alumni base and their big markets and all this national advertising money. They don't have to have the same eyeball ratings as the SEC to keep up with the SEC. People want into the Big Ten. But if everything even, they'd rather go to the Southeastern Conference. But that Big Ten, 19 and 20, those two slots in the 21, the 20, they're so valuable. So valuable that even a school like Georgia Tech has finally woken up. A school like Stanford. Schools that are like, I don't know. In the last 20 years, nah. Now they're like, oh boy, we better have some talks with the Big Ten. The Big Ten needs, they don't need to, not at this point, but they really want to. Thank you, Ricky Tungate. Thank you for the $10 holler. Very much appreciate it, sir. Very much appreciate it. Now, we got some very more kind super chats coming on in, but I want to open up the theater. I want to first talk about Notre Dame. We got to get Notre Dame out of the way. I see Irish Ryan is in the chat room. I see Mohr After Dark is in the chat room. Let's get the Irish out of the way, because we do have to talk about them. And I want to explain why we have them where we have them, okay? And then we'll get to the other super chats that have already come in. I apologize from Preston from North Carolina, Mohr After Dark, and Jacoba Cat. We're going to get to super chats. I apologize, but I don't want to completely lose the rhythm of the show. Let's get into the theater. This is the concession stands. The SEC and the Big Ten look like they're about to order some flavor ice cream. Based upon all the information that we have been told here at Peek Around the Corner, having the very fortunate, the ability to talk to multiple major chatter behind the curtain, handful of administrators, a whole lot of money purchased through BTM and his associates who have helped us break stories after stories over the last 12 years. This is where we see things in the theater, and we are no longer listing the top targets of both conferences. We are listing the highest probability of these schools going to these conferences. I will explain as we go through this. We're going to take a look at the Big Ten chalks first. And we're starting with Notre Dame. Notre Dame, number 1. I get it. A lot of you are rolling your eyes right now. Notre Dame, Greg, Notre Dame is not leaving they're not leaving football independence. They're not doing it. We think they are at Peek Around the Corner. Eventually, we think they are at the beginning of this wave or at the end of this wave. And we are completely, they're not going to go to the Southeastern Conference. So they got to be number 1 on the chalk of the Big Ten. They're the number 1 targets. They might not lead the parade, but they're going to be the last float out. Because I'm going to tell you guys something. It's working for Notre Dame right now. It is. They're set up with the ACC. It's working. They've got that NBC contract. They've got Marcus Freeman. Everything is glorious in the South Bend. But it ain't working for the ACC top branded schools. It ain't working for them, brother. It ain't working. This ain't working for Florida State. This ain't working for Clemson. This ain't working for North Carolina. This ain't working for Duke. It ain't working for Miami. It ain't working. It's not working. It's not working so much to the point where, again, 4, 5, 6, 7 of these ACC schools went to war against the anti-expansion provision in the PCSA. But you know what's really not working for Miami? Do you know what's really not working for Florida State? Do you really know what's not working for Clemson and a Stanford and a Duke and a Georgia Tech? What's really not working for them is when they go into their own rooms and they project their own revenue and they project where the costs are going in the sport. And they're projecting what the new supposed cap is going to be. When they're projecting media rights values, it's not working for them, brother, in 2026. It sure the hell ain't going to be working for them, brother, in 2030, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, and most likely beyond. It's too much. For schools that have an option, a chance, a hope, a chip in a chair to be at the table, to try to do everything they can to get to an SEC of the Big Ten, with those seats becoming even more valuable, it ain't working for those top ACC schools. And everybody knows it. Hell, Cruz and Cantwell know it. Cody Campbell know it. Smash Cat, everybody knows it. So if you can't stop these ACC schools with legislation, and I don't think you're going to be able to do it, if you can't stop them in the courts, which I don't think you're going to be able to do it, they're leaving. They're leaving. And it ain't going to be just 2 schools. And it's very, very unlikely it's not going to be just 4 schools. Remember, the work in large part has already been done. We've been talking about it for months. People at first, a lot of people at first did not quite understand, or they did not quite believe that there were talks going on. Thank God that Ross Dellinger put out that article, because now suddenly everybody knows. Not only talks have been going on like Ross Dellinger reported, we reported it for months, but the elevated talks, which we also reported as quick strike talks, thank God Ross Dellinger reported the shot clock talks, elevated talks. Those talks, with the exceptions of those last 24 hours, 48 hours of negotiations that is always done in these realignment cases, the talks have been exhausted. And there's been a lot of schools that have been given the perception that they've got a shot to get to the P2, because there's not just one spot open. There's not just 2 spots open. There's not just 3 spots open. There's not just 4 spots open. That's why they have the perception that they've got a shot. Not an invitation yet, but they've got a shot. Because of the value of those spots in the Big Ten and the SEC, and the value of those ACC schools that are not being monetized at their fullest in the ACC. Because of all of that, Notre Dame's football independence is way more vulnerable than a whole lot of people want to admit. Like a whole lot of people. Because one of the pillars that Notre Dame can stand on for their status as a quasi-football independence is the ACC pillar. And that is going to collapse. Notre Dame ain't going to have the same relation. If Clemson gets to the Southeastern Conference or to the Big Ten, Notre Dame ain't going to have the same relationship with Clemson as they do now. If Florida State gets to the SEC or the Big Ten, Notre Dame ain't going to have the same relationship with Florida State as they do now. If North Carolina gets to the SEC or the Big Ten, Notre Dame ain't going to have, they're not going to have the same relationship with North Carolina as they do now. On and on and on and on. At some point, Notre Dame also changes. Just like Texas, just like very wealthy Texas, just like big brand Oklahoma, just like incredible epic brand of USC, just like Washington, Oregon. At some point, Notre Dame is going to have to change. And that is why we still got them at number 1 in the Big Ten. Again, this is not the target list. This is the chalk list. This is where we think schools are going to end up. Okay. I promise. I'm done talking about Notre Dame unless you bring it up in the super chat or with one of your phone calls. Let's get to the super chat, and then we're going to go to the rest of the theater. I promise you. We got Preston from North Carolina throwing an elbow at the Duke Blue Devils. Of course. Duke Blueberry will give you the runs. North Carolina, Preston from North Carolina, once again, taking a shot at his friends across the way. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Did not mean to do that. Oh my God. Thank you, Preston from North Carolina. I appreciate the $5 holler. However, the Duke Blueberries ice cream, that's the ice cream flavor, does not give you the runs. All right? We don't want any negativity of our products in the Holy Smokes Theater being put out there in the chat room, Preston from Greensboro, North Carolina. All right, but I appreciate the $5 holler. Moen After Dark, massive super chat. Holy smokes. What kind of theater? A beautiful theater, an old-fashioned theater, a theater that is designed to give the people what they want. They don't want cheeseburgers. They want flavored ice cream. Moan After Dark, what kind of theater offers ice cream by the scoop in a concession area? Only one owned and operated by someone cold. A villain in league with the dentists and the weight loss clinics. The evil Mr. Freezegar, I have you now, Batmoen. Holy smokes. I am the villain and Moen is the superhero. All right? I mean, that's fine and everything. But we're going to be seeing that matchup in Indianapolis in the first week of December. Batman and Mr. Freezegar, it's happening. It is happening. Thank you for the $20 holler, Mohr After Dark. If you missed it, go watch College Football Mafia show that happened last night. Nathan Brown, Wajut, Moen, and everybody else at the Mafia group made their predictions in the SEC conference predictions. I think their SEC predictions went a lot better than their Big Ten predictions. Let me put it that way. I think they had a much better week, those Einsteins in the Mafia show. Thank you, Moen After Dark. I appreciate it very much. We've got Jacoba Cat, $5 holler, taking a shot at our popcorn containers. Why is there a hole punch in the bottom of the popcorn container in the Holy Smokes Theater? My girlfriend hates it. Well, she should, to be honest with you. That must have been a box that was malfunction. Or you might have helped it to make it malfunction. But I completely understand why your girlfriend hated that box. Thank you, Cobra Cat. I appreciate the $5 holler. We've got the Irishman, Irish Ryan. Notre Dame to the SEC on a partial agreement, 6 games per. So Notre Dame is going to leave their quasi-independence of the ACC after it collapses, and they're going to remain a quasi-independent playing SEC for 6 games. All right. Good luck, Notre Dame. Good luck to you. Do you think Notre Dame fans are going to be happy with 3 road games in SEC country? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think so, Ryan. But again, you got to do all that you can do to avoid being part of the Big Ten Borg. Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate the $2 holler. Jeremy Nork, $5 holler. Does the ACC need to dissolve before Notre Dame can leave for the Big Ten? I don't think the ACC is going to dissolve no matter what happens. It's going to look different, but I don't think it's going to dissolve. Now the question is Notre Dame going to lead the parade out, or are they going to be the last float out? Either way, I think they're leaving. And even if you don't think they're going to leave, I would hope that most of you understand that Notre Dame has had them leaving, war gamed out for a very long time. I mean, the moment that settlement happened between Clemson, Florida State, and the ACC, Notre Dame has had a war game this out. Is it more likely they're going to lead the parade out or be the last float out? I think it's more likely they're one of the last floats out or the last float out. But either way, I think the Notre Dame float in the ACC parade is going to take a turn into Rosemont, Illinois. Thank you so much, Jeremy Nork. Appreciate the $5 holler. Old Dad, a member for 3 months, early peak cloak and dagger. Very much appreciated, sir. You are hereby knighted college football cloak and dagger. Is Seminole Caramel a little salty? Asking for a friend. Yeah, a little bit salty. Less salty after Mike Novell leaves Tallahassee. And then you're going to be a little bit less salty. Everything's going to be okay. Mr. Old Dad, appreciate the being a member for 3 months. Thank you for your generosity, for all your support. Thank you so very much. We got Ryan. Hell yes, the Irishman. We love it. Avoid the Big Ten at all costs. Thank you for the $2 holler, Irish. Let's go back into the theater. Miami's next. Yeah. Miami's a big-time chalk for the Big Ten. And it has only grown since the first time we talked about it about 3 years ago. We've had Miami at the top, near the top, below Notre Dame and UNC for a very long time. And nothing has changed that. Other than, we do have Miami on the SEC chalk list, which we'll talk about later. Miami's in a very good spot. And they have been for quite a while. We have been told that Miami's got support from Michigan and Penn State. That's a pretty big deal. That is a pretty big deal. They might have it with Ohio State. We don't know, but Miami's got true big-time support in the conference. So they're number 2 and have been there. Now, again, we don't have North Carolina on the Big Ten banner. So let me make something clear. North Carolina remains a top target for the Big Ten, but we're at the point where we think that North Carolina, once they leave the ACC, is going to be a Southeastern Conference school. It's not a report. This is a juiced up prediction show. Consider this a juiced up prediction show. But every indication, even indications that I'm not allowed to talk about here, North Carolina is lining up to be an SEC school. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. Virginia or Duke? Now, we did see the report from Mohr on the College Football Mafia show that he was told it was going to be Virginia or Duke in the Big Ten, and we now agree with Mohr. Virginia or Duke. One of them is going to be a heavy chalk in the Big Ten. So, if Virginia is going to go with North Carolina to the SEC, Duke now becomes in a decent, pretty good spot. This is not a report. We're not saying Duke is most definitely going to the Big Ten. But they're in a better spot than I think most people would realize. Then the next one is Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech is a big mover in the theater. And they could surpass Duke in another month. They could surpass, who knows? I mean, I don't know what the information we're going to gather here at Peek Around the Corner. But we do know that Georgia Tech, we got information after we did the University of Minnesota show on what they would like to see, even though they're not calling the shots. University of Minnesota, we've got people there that we know, and they're saying Georgia Tech in Miami, outside of Notre Dame and North Carolina and Virginia, it is Miami and Georgia Tech that the University of Minnesota would probably support in the open with inside the Big Ten. So Georgia, after that show, we got even more information about the momentum of the Yellow Jackets. So Georgia Tech has put their hat in the ring, and now we got them ahead of Clemson, Florida State. Now, if you notice, In the Big Ten chalk banner, we've got Clemson or Florida State. In the SEC chalk banner, we got Florida State and Clemson. And there's a difference. And now I'm going to say this. We believe when we talk about SEC chalks, here at Peek Around the Corner, the consensus is that Florida State has got a slight edge over Clemson, even with the North Carolina-Clemson relationship. Because of the work that is being done in the state of Florida, because we've been told that Gainesville, Florida would not be a roadblock for Florida State. We have not gotten that confirmation from anybody from South Carolina on the University of South Carolina Gamecocks. We have Florida State slightly above Clemson on the SEC chalk banner. Slightly. Probably not going to make a difference. Again, as of today, we think Florida State and Clemson will be joining the SEC. On the Big Ten chalk, we would have Clemson above, slightly above Florida State. We believe that Clemson, the information that we received, the canary in the coal mine when it comes to the University of Minnesota, other information that we have received, information from local chatter behind the curtain in the state of South Carolina. Clemson is a real 70-30, 70 SEC, 30% Big Ten. And that is higher than Florida State for Big Ten. So we got Clemson behind Georgia Tech. So if Notre Dame is not willing to get in the boat, if they don't want to be at the front of the parade, and Miami is in the parade, they go to the Big Ten. And if the Big Ten cannot land Virginia because it goes to North Carolina, it could be a Miami, Duke, Georgia Tech, Clemson if the conference expands by 4. Or if they can't get Virginia and the Duke thing don't work out, then it could be a Miami, Georgia Tech, Clemson, possibly Stanford. But Clemson is somewhat in the mix in the Big Ten. Georgia Tech is more in the mix than it's ever been before. Virginia and Duke have had exhausted talks with the Big Ten. Both of them have had all these conversations with the Big Ten. And then you got Stanford. We still have them below Clemson and Florida State. We've got them below Georgia Tech. Utah, because of the Big 12 gore. Look, we are hearing things about Utah almost all the time at PATC. The Big 12 gore is working against Utah, just like it's working against Kansas. But once we get into 2029, 2030, I think conversations around, maybe even 2028, conversations around Utah and Kansas in P2, I think the conversations are going to completely change. California, we got them below Stanford, and we got Virginia Tech because of the Virginia situation. If Virginia goes to the SEC, if the Duke thing doesn't work out, maybe the Big Ten takes Virginia Tech to make sure they get into that region of the country. Those are the Big Ten chalks. We believe Notre Dame, Miami, Virginia or Duke, and Georgia Tech are the most likely to join the Big Ten. Clemson, doors not closed. Florida State, doors not closed. Stanford, of course, door will never be closed. Utah, the door's only cracked a little bit, but in 2, 3, 4 years from now, that cracked door is going to be more open. California, a little bit of a crack. Virginia Tech, a little bit of a crack. SEC chalk. UNC, Virginia. We think there's a little bit more of a chance of Virginia ending up in the Big Ten than North Carolina ending up in the Big Ten. But the overwhelming chalk is UNC, Virginia to the SEC. And then Florida State and Clemson. We have got more information on Florida State and people working for Florida State towards an SEC invite. Then we've got Clemson, and we all know that Clemson's working towards that, but we've got more in Florida State. So we've got the Seminoles just a little bit ahead of the Tigers on that SEC chalk banner, even though you see them at the same line. North Carolina State's got to be in there somewhere. Nobody can really predict what the Board of Governors is going to do. If we had to put our chips in the middle of the table now, we think it's North Carolina is going to be able to leave without taking North Carolina State with them. But they're going to have to do a series of college sports competition with North Carolina State in basketball and baseball and football and with Wake Forest and all those schools, even though they're private. North Carolina FBS schools are going to be doing a lot of things together if North Carolina leaves on their own. You got to have Miami in there. Got to have Miami in there. Miami might get an offer that they can't refuse from the SEC. Virginia Tech, you got to have them in there because of the Virginia politics. In Kansas, again, 2-3 years from now, a lot more people are going to be talking about the Kansas candidate in the SEC and the Big Ten. So, there is your updated Holy Smokes Theater Big Ten chalks, SEC chalks. It's not a targeted list. North Carolina would still be number 2 on the Big Ten banner. But this is now entered into the chalk list. What we think is most likely going to end up happening. Most likely, Notre Dame, Miami, Georgia Tech, most likely Virginia or Duke. With a Clemson, Stanford, Florida State in the mix still, but a Notre Dame, Miami in a small scoop. Notre Dame, Miami, Georgia Tech in Virginia or Duke in a big scoop. In the SEC, small scoop, UNC, Virginia. Large scoop, UNC, Virginia, Florida State, and Clemson. And then with other possibilities of North Carolina State, Miami, Virginia Tech, Kansas. This is after talking with, when I think back about how much time I've talked and discussed about this with so many people, and this is happening not just with, of course, me, but it is happening out there, the chatter behind the curtain. You're not seeing a lot of these guys and gals speculating too much on their podcasts, on their shows, because quite frankly, they're not supposed to. Or they've got somebody to answer to and they really don't want to go there. Or if they did, all they would do is cause problems. Like Pete Thamel. You heard what he said about Clemson and Florida State. Specifically about Florida State. We don't agree with that. But he put it out there, and it did not really help him or his show or whatever. I happen to think that his information was a little stale, to be honest with you. I think he took that off the top shelf, and that information had a lot of dust on it. I would agree with him that Virginia and North Carolina are the number one targets of the SEC. But again, there's more to the story. There's always more to the story than who are the top targets. Always. These conferences don't have a list of 2 schools. The Big Ten is not sitting there with Notre Dame and a blank page underneath them. The SEC is not sitting there with North Carolina and Virginia and a blank page underneath them. They got valuations, they got projections, they've got travel miles, they've got academic research stuff that could this fit in there, could that fit in there. They got all of these variables of politics. They've got it all war gamed out. The biggest question I'm going to have after the show is, Greg, do you think they finally know what they're going to do? My answer on that on August 22nd, after talking with certain chatter behind the curtain, I think they're 90% there. I would have never said that in July, June, May. I have never even come close to saying that. It's not signed, sealed, and delivered. It's not imminent. But the signed, sealed, and delivered, I think we're 90% there. Not quite totally there, because we're not going to quite totally be there until the following happens. More clarity on the PCSA passing or not. If it does pass, what's included? If it doesn't pass, what does the political landscape look early in 2027? The other thing we all got to wait on, that plane that keeps flying around, is what does the college football playoff format look like in the years ahead? That sucker's got to land. It has to land before that 90% where the Big Ten thinks they're going and the 90% that the SEC thinks they're going, before that to get the 90% to imminent, that plane that is flying around in Blind Alley Airport in the middle of Louisville City, though that plane has to land or it has to crash. We got to know if it's 24. We got to know the money distribution, the percentages, how much money's coming in before both conferences make their final determination. So I would take your phone calls. I would take your super chats. This has been your August Holy Smokes Theater update. We're going to do it once a month, even during the football season. September is going to be wall-to-wall college football watch parties, aftermath shows. We're going to be celebrating. We're going to be crying right here in the studio. Give us a call through the month of September. It's going to be a lot of fun. But during that, we still got to hit these big issues, off-the-field issues, and one of them is realignment never sleeps. So buckle up. Please subscribe if you haven't done it yet. Smash the like button if you've liked our content today. Let's get on with your phone calls. Let's get on with your super chats. Let's get on with your comments. Let's get those phone lines open. 763-260-1333. 333-763-260-1333. Christopher Hooter, $2 holla. Notre Dame fans would be thrilled with 3 SEC road games. All right. Christopher Hooter has spoken. Notre Dame would love it. Of course, he's winking at me when he says it. Not a whole lot of Notre Dame fans live in SEC country outside the city of Atlanta. But of course, there's some. I just don't see it happening. But what we shall see, Christopher Hooter. $2 holla. Thank you, Christopher Hooter. Appreciate it. And of course, we got Christopher Hooter, $2 holla. I do declare SEC, North Carolina, Virginia, Florida State, and Kansas. Could be mighty difficult for Kansas to get out of the Big 12 grant of rights right now. Mighty difficult. Thank you for the $2 holler. We've got the Irish Ryan with a $2 holler. Phone lines are open. 763-260-1333. Dome alone, Big Ten denied, Irish free. Dome alone, Big Ten denied, Irish free. I don't quite understand that, Irish Ryan, but I thank you for the $2 holler. I'm sure the smart people in our PATC family know exactly what you're trying to say, but Dome alone, Home alone, Big Ten denied, Irish free. I think you're trying to say that Notre Dame's going to deny the Big Ten again. They could. They could for now. $2 holler. Thank you, Irish Ryan. Very much appreciate it. We've got a $10 holler from the Pirate Gator Maynard. Going to be a very interesting year for the East Carolina Pirates. Wide open race in the American. Wide open race. And then you got the Florida Gators. I think Florida is going to do some damage this year. Kenneth Maynard, $10 holla.
From
Rick?
Rick, can you hold on for just one moment, please?
Of course.
I appreciate it. Kenneth Maynard. For UNC to leave on their own, they will have to play Duke, North Carolina State in all sports every year and schedule a rotation of ECU, App, Charlotte, and football. That will fill up their non-conference slate. Well, if they leave to the SEC, they're going to play Duke in basketball anyway. That's of course going to happen. I don't think they would have to play Duke, or they're not going to be made, I don't think, to play Duke when it comes to the state politics. But the North Carolina State, yes, absolutely. And I think in basketball, I think they would all play with each other in some sort of preseason tournament every single year. Wake Forest, Duke, North Carolina State, North Carolina. I agree with rotation, yep. ECU, App, Charlotte. I think all that would have to be done. It's not going to be easy. But at this point, I think it's going to be something that they cannot be denied. In my strongly held opinion, based on all the conversations I've had. Thank you, Kenneth Maynard. Thank you for the $10 holler. Before we go to Rick, we've got breaking news that happened a couple hours ago. But I'm going to show you. I haven't covered it yet. Senior defensive tackle Vic Burley, Clemson Tiger, was arrested. Statement from Clemson head coach Dabo Swinney. Earlier today, I was made aware of defensive tackle Vic Burley's arrest by the Clemson University Police Department for disorderly conduct early Saturday morning. I have made the decision to suspend Vic from our football team indefinitely. We are extremely disappointed by his actions and decisions. Now, I believe Vic Burley is a senior. I could have that wrong. I know he's been around. I know he's played some football. But that might be a huge loss for Clemson. Let me know, Clemson Tigers in the chat room. Woo! Look, Dabo Swinney, he probably had to do what he had to do here, right? There's probably at least some sort of evidence of this disorderly conduct. Anyways, that is the breaking news. That happened about 2 hours ago. I have not been able to cover it here at Peek Around the Corner. Go ahead, Rick. Thank you for your patience. The floor is yours.
Hey, what's stopping the Big Ten from taking Miami and Georgia Tech right now?
I think the PCSA. I think because they don't want to get this bad blowback on them for doing something in which the PCSA is still in process of they're trying to pass it. Plus, they want to know what the college football playoffs look like, the format. Other than that, I don't think much is stopping them anymore. But there are a couple of things stopping them.
So they're that heavily influenced by the politics.
Yeah, I mean, they don't want this. Yeah, they don't want to be brought up in the Congress and have to answer to the question of how could you have possibly expanded? How could you possibly done this when we're still negotiating the Senate vote? We're going to have the Senate vote, something that you have worked on all this time with us, and we're going to go up to try to get it done in the House. They don't want any part of that. So nothing's imminent. I don't think it's possible, and that would be my answer. I don't think there's any chance. I think this is all going to early 2027. I think is going to get a little crazy. It's going to be more crazy in early 27 than it was the first quarter of 2026, when none of us believed that anything possibly could happen. But early 27, I think there's going to be that strong possibility.
I can't remember if it was yesterday or the day before that you had a Twitter post that said SEC silo countdown 3, 2, 1. Remember that?
Yeah, I'm going to show it here.
What's that mean?
That had to do. Let me find it first here. It was SEC silo test in 3, 2, and ... And what I meant by that is this whole thing that is going on with eligibility, the transfer portal, I should say, where Greg Sankey and the SEC has a rule that an SEC team cannot pick up another SEC player in the portal, right?
Oh, LSU versus Greg Sankey.
Exactly. So that's why I put that on there.
Yeah, well, that might even be more of a test of him, his power. I mean, he doesn't have. He can be replaced.
Sure, but if they can't even, I mean, that's an SEC rule. Now, if they want to come, if the Southeastern Conference wants to come together and adjust the rule, get rid of the rule, have the rule look like the Big Ten, that's one thing. But there is a rule in place, and if the schools don't follow the rules, and Sankey says you're going against the rules, and then the SEC sues, or an SEC school sues the Southeastern Conference, now we've opened up Pandora's box. This is a big test on that the SEC can govern themselves even before they make it official that they might go in their own silo.
That's right, because Greg Sankey, even though he talks like he can rule with the iron fist, he can't.
Well, I don't know if it's ruling. I think it's the commissioner's job to point out that the schools agreed to this rule. And if somebody violates it, the commissioner has to say, in a silo, the commissioner has to say, you clearly violated this rule. You cannot do that.
Okay, well, that's all flapping the gums. What's he going to do? What is EC going to do to them?
I don't know, but if they go in their silo, and if a school knowingly, clearly wants to break a rule, then they, at least at one point, they're going to have to, in my opinion, face a major fine. For one example, have certain things stripped away from them.
Okay, that's all fine and well, but today they're not in their silo.
No, they're not.
And Greg Sankey can't do anything.
On his own, he can't do anything. No.
Correct.
But the other school. Okay, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Well, the other schools in the SEC, they don't want this to happen. He's putting out there in public again. Look, this is our rule. You guys agree to this rule. No, he can't physically stop it. Like he is not. He's not a dictator. He is the one that is simply stating what the Southeastern Conference rule is, and he's making it clear. Now, if they're not going to pay attention to the rule, are they going to pay attention to the SEC rules, even if they got some sort of fine associated to it? Is the Southeastern Conference silo going to work as good as the NCAA umbrella, which means it doesn't work? That is the question.
Well, why is it Brett Yormark doesn't have any problem at all taking Texas Tech to court?
Well, maybe Sankey will do that at some point. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it was explicitly stated in the Big 12 bylaw that you can't have a player who has knowingly bet on his own sport. I don't know what the SEC bylaws say in this.
Oh, so we don't know if LSU is violating the bylaws of the SEC.
They have a rule, but I don't know if that rule is in a bylaw. I don't have the SEC bylaws memorized. I don't know if it's something that Sankey can take them to court on.
Okay, and then that brings us to the CSC.
The College Sports Commission.
Right. And Dellinger's memo in his footer.
Dellinger's what?
Memo. The copy of the memo that the CSC sent out. That Dellinger put in his footer.
Today or?
I think it was yesterday or the day before.
I don't know anything. I don't know if I read it. I don't know what you're.
It was the CSC warning the players not to take money, nil money, and enter deals without telling the CSC that they haven't approved.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. I got it. In a memo to D1 schools, the College Sports Commission's Department of Investigations announces that it has issued warning letters to athletes who have failed to timely report NIL deals and failed to return pay for deals denied. No word yet on penalties. Okay?
Right.
Yep.
and they're going to the CFC is going to suspend them from playing, right?
Maybe. I mean, there's going to have to be something if they're denied these NIL deals, but yet they're still taking the money and not returning the money, then they are in violation per the rules that all of the schools agreed on. Once again,
no, they're following state law.
Okay. Well,
their state allows it.
Okay.
So what are you going to do, CSC? Your warning letter is cute, but what are you going to do?
Well, we'll see.
When you suspend them, CSC, they're going to sue you. And then we're going to find out in court who's got the power, the states or the CSC.
Well,
you think the CSC and the NCAA are up for that lawsuit?
No, they're not, because that's why they were trying to get all this codified with this.
That's correct.
So, but the CSC has to act in accordance to what they have been told by their instructions through the schools. I mean, the CSC.
The schools have told them to write stupid warning letters.
The CSC can't sit there and go, you know what, we're going to lose in court, so therefore we're not going to do the job that we were told by the school. The CSC is the creation of the schools. They have been given instruction by the schools. They get staffed because of the schools. They're going to do what the rules have said in that House settlement. So they're going to keep acting like this is all going to work. They can't sit there and go, well, it's not going to work because we're going to be taken to court. We're going to be defeated in court. So we're not going to do our jobs. Rick, come on, man. Wake up. People can't act like you, Rick. They can't sit there and go, well, none of this is going to work. Therefore, we just can't. None of us can lift a finger. The commissioner can't say nothing. The CSC can't say. Nobody can do anything. That's not how real life works.
Stop with the warning letters and suspend.
No, that's part of the process, Rick. That's part of what they're instructed to do. Again, the CSC is not this independent body made up of dictators. This was formed by every school that is. Everybody in the chat room, all your schools, form the CSC. This is what they do. If it gets defeated in the courts, it's not like the CSC people are going to be taken to jail. They're just doing what they're supposed to do. Have it get defeated in the courts.
Just like Sankey is doing to LSU. and both of them are worthless. Totally worthless.
All right. Anything else, Rick?
That's it.
All right. I appreciate it, sir. Thanks for the call.
Thank you.
See, this is what I don't understand. Let's get to the very kind super chats. I appreciate it. $5 holler Hammer Hennison. Thank you so very much, sir. Appreciate it. You've got Stanford at 6, but Notre Dame at 1. So you don't think Notre Dame will be able to muscle Stanford in the Big Ten? Again, the question is, if we knew for sure that Notre Dame was going to lead the parade out, yeah, Stanford would move up in that chalk list. But if Notre Dame is the last one out, then their muscle becomes less effective.
on.
Christopher Hooter.
Christopher Hooter, can you hold on for a moment, please?
Take your time. Take your time.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Hammer Henderson. Thank you for the $5 holler. Very much appreciate it, sir. Very much. So yeah, I don't know if we knew that Notre Dame was leading the parade out, the Stanford rankings would change. But at this point, I think we got them where we probably. I think where we got them is pretty accurate. Thank you, Hammer Henderson. Appreciate it. We've got TK in New York. $2 holler. Thank you, TK. Appreciate it. Any word on who ACC leftovers would be able to add? Well, that is going to be a different play in the Holy Smokes Theater. That might end up being a matinee in about 5 or 6 months from now. We're going to have to put up people are going to be going on the stage, center of the stage and all that. We would have to first know who would leave the ACC to join the P2 conference. Once we know what is left in the ACC, then we can figure out the rest. But again, who are the leftovers? Who are going to be the leftovers? We don't have that, and I think that's very important. How strong is the ACC going to be after they get poached? And how are they going to distribute their exit money? The exit money that the top branded ACC schools are going to have to pay out, how does that get distributed? And is the ACC going to use that money to try to poach some Big 12 schools? Or are they going to go after some American schools? There's just so much we do not know. TK in New York, but stay with us. We will eventually get their TK. We will eventually get their, I appreciate the $2 holler. Thank you very much. Helmer Henderson, $5 holla. Other than the relationship with Notre Dame, why would Stanford be a better value than Cal? Well, Stanford does have a more, if you want to talk just athletics, Stanford does have a better overall athletic department. With all their sports. Number 2, Stanford has a little bit more freedom, a lot more freedom than the University of California, Berkeley. That might be advantageous for things down the road. Stanford has that Ivy League library in which they and Duke enjoy, and that might be of considerable value to the Big Ten. But I'm not going to sit here and knock California, the incredible public institution, number 1, number 2 in the country. So, but because of that, I think Stanford probably has an edge. We've always been told that Stanford has an edge over California. We've made that perfectly clear at Peek Around the Corner. But anyways, thank you, Herman Henderson, for the $5 holler. And we'll get to the membership and Jacoba Cat here in a little bit. Go ahead, caller. The floor is absolutely yours. Thank you for your patience. Very much appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll help you out here with Rick. Okay. Yes, Greg Sankey is the most powerful figure in college athletics, period, hard stop. It's not close. But he's not Napoleon, and he's not Julius Caesar, okay? So he still works for the presidents of the Southeastern Conference. They are not in a silo yet. We're talking about this NFL ruling.
Yeah.
LSU, Louisiana State University, is obligated to tip their hat to a Louisiana ruling by a judge. Okay? And that's not Greg Sankey's fault. In fact, it's a great example of why Greg Sankey needs help from Congress. Okay?
Yeah.
So I know Rick's got the SEC crawl under his thigh there, right? But this is not Sankey's fault. It's not the SEC's fault. It's not LSU's fault. This is a structural problem within the system, and this is why they need help from Congress.
That's why they're trying to get it. Yes. Yeah.
That's why they're trying to get it, Rick.
But my whole point is, let's go down memory lane here, okay?
Yep.
Let's go down memory lane. There was this class action lawsuit. In fact, there's 3 of them folded into one. The schools were about to get buried with this class action lawsuit. They were going to lose big. The NCAA and every one of these member institutions. So they were in a class action lawsuit. And each of these schools, all of them, supported the settlement that they made with the House lawyers, House being a swimmer.
Yeah.
Okay? So now they got to go by the judge's rules. They got to go by the judge's rules. They got to go by the judge's rules. We live in a world where they've got to go by the judge's rules. The settlement. Part of the settlement was the CSC. The construction of the CSC. The cap. All this has been adjudicated. And there's a mechanism to adjudicate it. But it's difficult to adjudicate it. People talk about, well, we shouldn't have to do that. Schools don't have to do that. But this is in a class action lawsuit. So, the CSC was created. It's been staffed. And they've been given instructions. And sometimes a CSC acts in a court. They act. And lawyers and people say, no, you are CSC. You're not acting in accordance to the judge, to the settlement. And then the CSC says, yes, we are. Then it goes to the judge. The CSC has won some of those cases. They've lost some of those. And when they lose, it's no big deal. The CSC then adjusts to what the court wants. So they make the adjustments. This is what we're doing. So yeah, the CSC sends out letters because that is the thing that we created, all of us. So you can't, again, people say, the NCAA has to act, this has to act. So when they act, people get pissed that they act. It's like they're going to keep acting. And you know what? Everything will probably get defeated in the courts. But until they do, they got to act in accordance to the flippin' class action lawsuit. I don't know why this is so difficult to understand. I see it all over YouTube channels. I see it all over message boards. This is a bleeping class action lawsuit. You basically lost. You got buried. You're paying a $2.8 billion in back payments. If you don't follow this class action lawsuit, if you don't have a cap, if you don't pay direct money to the schools, to the students, if you don't do this stuff, you're going to get buried. They're going to bury you. The back pay is going to go from $2.8 billion to $20 billion. The CSC is not the problem. It ain't the problem. It's we got into this class action lawsuit because we've been doing wrong for decades. We're paying the piper on this. It doesn't look good, so we're trying to get it codified so we can actually fulfill the obligations of the class action lawsuit. If we can't get it codified, yes, the courts are going to rip us apart. I don't understand why any of this is. The CSC is not some monster institution. All they're trying to do is figure out what the court wants and what the schools want. And then they're filling their obligations. That's it. That's it. They're not the boogeyman. You know what? The NCAA is not even the boogeyman. We're the boogeyman. It's us schools were the boogeyman. We should have acted decades earlier. We should have given a voice to the voiceless. We should have given the student athletes we should have given them a seat at the bloody table decades ago. And we keep paying the price for it. But my God, it ain't the problem of the CSC or the Deloitte Clearinghouse or any other structure that has been built because we had to do something with this class action lawsuit. Go ahead, Christopher Hooter.
Well, I'm on board with you. I mean, I agree. And so they need Congress to kind of codify the lawsuit. Otherwise, the class action lawsuit will be challenged. Yeah. So, right? So that's what this is about. So, I'm on board. The CSC, Deloitte, they're not the bad guys. They're simply doing what they were empowered to do from this lawsuit, which all the conferences agreed to.
Yes, because
we're hand in glove here.
Yeah. They didn't have a choice.
Yeah. They had right. That's right.
Yeah.
Because I'd rather agree to a $3 billion settlement, which is $10 million a year for 4 or 5 or 10 years or whatever, than a $20 billion settlement, which
yes.
was the alternative if you lost.
Yes.
So right. So which would have been 50. I don't know. I'm just making this up. $50 or $60 million for 10 years, right? Which would have buried everyone from Ohio State to to Kansas. Nobody could have afforded that.
Yeah.
So I'm with you. I'm hand in glove here with you. Okay, I'm going to back up now to my original comment. If okay, so the Big Ten is at 18 members. The SEC is at 16, and they're both making about. Hold on, people calling me here. They're both making about $75 million per media rights. So if they're going to add one school, just one school, that one school must bring enough value to bring at least $75 million times 16 or 18, plus another $75 or $80 million for that school.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure. But you can't just measure a school's value and what they bring into the conference by media money. You can't do that.
I agree.
Especially now, when everybody's striking up all these sponsorship deals, when these conferences are striking up all these conference deals. I mean, my God, if the Southeastern Conference believes in the next decade that they're going to have a whole bunch of opportunity to bring money from Europe, Western Europe, the Middle East, they're going to be looking at, you're going to be looking at schools that might be able to help you attract that type of money. Like, you might want to create more content. You might think that streaming is going to hit big, really big in 5 years from now, 6 years from now. You want to make sure that ESPN stays satisfied, but then another big streaming company. So it isn't quite clean cut like it used to be. You might go ahead, sir.
Well, I agree with that, and it's not just that. It's that, okay, so you're Texas, you're Austin. Do you want Baylor, Okie dokie, and in there from Waco? Or do you want a legion of fans from Baton Rouge coming, right, that are just going to swamp Austin with purple and gold? I mean, so it's not just media. It's hotels and restaurants.
Yes.
Right? Or Norman, Oklahoma.
Yes.
I mean, do you want Baylor? And I'm not picking on Baylor, right?
No, you're right. You're right. Yeah.
Or do you want LSU? I want LSU coming all day, every day, right?
That's why everything being even, most schools in the SEC, everything being even, most schools in the southeastern part of the country would choose, if they had an option, they would choose SEC over the Big Ten. You brought up another great example, just the hotels alone, right? But go ahead. Sorry to interrupt you, Christopher.
Well, that's closer, right? I mean, just
Yeah.
it's closer. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a bearable drive from Louisiana to Austin.
Yeah.
It's a long way from Iowa or Oregon or Washington or Los Angeles, right?
Yeah.
Especially not in year 1, but in year 5 or 10, right? After the novelty has worn off, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, okay. I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
You're the man. Enjoying this show. All right.
I
Talk to you.
appreciate it.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
I appreciate that phone call. I am behind once again. I do apologize. I want to get to your comments here. I apologize to Studzilla. Studzilla, I apologize, sir. Thank you for becoming a member for 9 months. Holy smokes, you are hereby knighted. College football, cloak and dagger, Studzilla. Are you doing a watch party for USC San Jose State on Saturday? My answer is I do not know. I don't know. Hold on. Okay, let's take a look here. So the North Carolina TCU, oh yeah. Look, I know. There's a very small percentage of people in the PATC family that enjoy, or I should say tolerate, my singing and dancing. But I'll be singing and dancing before that North Carolina TCU game. So if you want to witness some bad entertainment, make sure you join us early for the Horned Frogs and the Tar Heel football game. Now, we go to San Jose State and USC. If I do a back-to-back watch party, which I am going to try to do, then San Jose State USC will be folded into that. They'll be the second game for both North Carolina TCU and North Carolina State and Virginia. So I am going to say I'm not going to be able to completely, I'm not going to be able to give you a total guarantee on that. I believe I'm going to do a back-to-back watch party for both those games. If not, then I'll catch the start of the USC San Jose State, but and then maybe later on tonight I'm going to do the later on that night do the UNLV Memphis game. But I think there's a pretty good chance I will be doing USC San Jose State along with the two other games. Virginia, North Carolina State, and then of course TCU North Carolina. I think the odds are yes, Studzilla, but no guarantees at this point. Appreciate you becoming a member for 9 months. Thank you so very much. Jacoby Cat, the Iowa Hawkeye, comes in with a $5 holla. Jacoby Cat, is there something more concerning about the SEC culture that prevents Sankey from changing the transfer ban? SEC more likely to eat itself than the Big Ten. I don't know. I got a feeling that they're probably going to change that rule, right? That an SEC team can go in the portal and take an SEC player. They're looking at trying to rearrange the tampering rules. They have the ability for these student athletes to find out what their marketplace is before they go in the portal. And for them to figure out their marketplace, they should be able to talk to some potential suitors. You know, a certain timeline, a couple of weeks before the portal opens. So maybe all that. I don't know about like what the culture. I don't know anything about that. But I would put my chips in the middle of the table, or I would at least put your evil Hawkeye chips in the middle of the table, and I would guess that the SEC is going to change that rule. Now, I could be completely off my rocker. An SEC fan, a fan of an SEC school can explain to me in the chat how that's not a possibility. Great. But until I hear why that's not a possibility, I think there's a chance that can be flipped up. Thank you, Jacoby Cat. Appreciate the $5 holler. We've got a massive super chat from OBD Dunn. OBD Dunn, purple and gold. Massive $50 holler. For when you have one of those calls that get you hot under the collar and your head hits the desk in misbelief, there is but one beer you want to drink, and that is Bush Apple Light. And a nice set of earplugs never hurts as well. OBD Dunn, thank you so much for the $50 holler. Now, I will not have the earplugs because I like when people are passionate. I love Rick's calls. I love all your calls. I love when I disagree with you all. I've got no problem with the disagreeing. I'm going to be honest. I do not have a problem with CSC letters, because all that is the process that everybody agreed to. So they're only doing their job. I don't, and a lot of what the NCAA does, some of it they go off course on their own, but a lot of what the NCAA does is because our schools are instructing them to do it. It's almost like nobody wants to blame ourselves. Do you know who I blame for the mess that we're in? Do you know who's at fault? More than CSC, more than the NCAA, more than the Deloitte Clearinghouse. Do you know who's at fault? The University of Minnesota. With their heads in the sand. Their head completely in the sand. Not wanting student athletes to have any sort of employment opportunities. Minnesota, in a very progressive part of the country, really not wanting to have that CBA. Like, it's the University of Minnesota's fault, way more than any pencil pusher at the NCAA headquarters. It's our school's fault. And nobody wants to blame their own school but me. I'm the only person, even though I do Golden Gopher propaganda, I'm the only person that wants to rip on their school, it seems like. And maybe that is why I am the re-elected mayor of Loserville City. Thank you, OPD Dunn. Appreciate your generosity, sir. Appreciate it so very much. Hold on, everybody. Hold on. All right. Hold on, everybody. Hold on. Thank you so much for the massive super chat, OPD done, for all that you have done for this program. Unbelievable. I'm very humbled to call you a friend, an incredible PATC family member. Thank you so much. Now, what is going on in the chat room? Greg Flugar is at fault. I can understand that. But what is going on here? U.S. Geological Service will monitor the seismic activity when Greg decides to sing. Yep. Jose saying everybody calm down. While the chat is getting sensitive. PATC is a family environment. I don't know what happened in the chat. What happened in the chat? No doubt about it. Good guy award, Opie. We can agree on that. Everybody relax. Family squabble. All right. Look, I get it. We're 7 days away from toe hitting the leather. And so a lot of people are feeling a lot of pressure. Inside the PATC family. We've done the work here. We have broken down the tape. We've done 80 spotlights on 80 different teams on 80 different live shows. We've made all the predictions. And now we head into a week of absolute nervous energy, drama. A lot of us are going to be crying 2 weeks from today. Some of us is going to be crying a week from today. Some of us is going to be celebrating. Some of us are going to be dreaming the ultimate dreams that our new coach or new quarterback might be actually good. I can't wait. We have been working the whole off season toward this beautiful 2026 football season. Buckle up and brace for impact. It's going to be great. And we have the I Do Declare World Championship going on. You all have made your predictions. Somebody's going to come out of here, the I Do Declare World Champion. I don't know which one of you. Some crazy bold predictions. And the thing is, at least a few of you are going to be absolutely correct in your bold predictions. And you're going to be in line to become the first I Do Declare college football world champion. You're going to get a trophy. And one of you are going to be coming out of there the I Do Declare cooler of the world. And you're going to have a seat right next to me. All right, so it's going to be a lot of fun. I want to thank for you all joining us. I do appreciate those who who gave us donations to help us keep the lights on and grow the channel. Thank you very much. Bruce Harris, thank you. Christopher Hooter, Jacoba Cat, Doc Gibb, D5 Terps, Daniel Gorby, Jay Goo, Christopher Hooter, Ricky Tungate, Preston from Greensboro, North Carolina, Mowing After Dark, Jacoba Cat, The Irish Ryan, Jeremy Nork, Old Dad, Irish Ryan, Christopher Hooter, Irish Ryan, Kenneth, the Pirate, Gator, Maynard, Helmer Hennison, TK in NY. Thank you, TK, for coming on in. I hope to see you again. Helmer Hennison, Studzilla, Jacoba Cat, OBD Dunn, Jacoba Cat, Greg, sing Depth Leopard and dance and tassels and a feather boa and slide down a pole. I don't need poles to dance. I've already talked about it. The fat guy from Minnesota has never needed a pole to dance. In high thigh boots, bathed in strobe lights pulsing through the milky fog. I can do all of that. I can sing Death Leopard. I can dance in tassels. I can do the feather boa. I can bathe in strobe lights pulsing through the milky fog, especially the milky fog. But I ain't dancing on no pole. I ain't sliding down no pole. Therefore, I can't do what you are describing, Jacoba Cat. But thank you for the $5 holler. Thank you, Mr. Iowa Hawkeye. I appreciate all your support. Appreciate it very much. And then OBD Don, if that super chat was off base, I will apologize to the chat room and Greg. But what I do know, we are down here, drink beer, make shine, and eat things out of the front yard ditch. I don't know how you could ever, offend anybody by talking about Bush Apple Light. Very good. That is the best fruity toot beer. The best fruity toot beer on the market. Bush Apple Light. Thank you, OPD Don, for the massive super chat in this one. Down there, they drink beer, make shine, and eat things out of the front yard ditch. The front yard ditch. I'm going to have to ask questions about what the front yard ditch, what that is all about. I don't quite understand that.
Oh my God!
I don't know if you're talking about a gator.
Oh my God!
But anyways, OPD Don, I do appreciate all you do for the channel and your friendship. Thank you so very much, OPD Don, and every one of you who have joined us today. Please join us tomorrow, Sunday, August 23rd. I think that's going to be a very good day to talk college football. Until next time, from all of us at PATC, to all of you, please, you all take great care of each other. And as always, God, family, Golden Gophers.